As the Halloween spirit continues, I'll be sharing some of this year's mind-blowing events. These stories from our followers are like a movie. If you're ready, subscribe to the channel and let's get started with our first story.
On Halloween night, as I do every year, I set up a table in front of my door and handed out candy to the children. My yard was overflowing with colorful costumes, princesses, zombies, superheroes. They were all cheerily shouting, "Trick or treat!" and I was laughing and dropping the candy into their hands. The air was cool, but I felt warm inside. I've always loved this night. It was around 9 o'clock. The crowd was thinning. I was just sitting in my chair, counting the last remaining candy, when my eye caught a glimpse of a corner of the yard. There, standing apart from the others, was a boy. He wore a black leather cape. His face was covered in an old, cracked leather mask. The eye holes were deep and dark. He didn't move. He just stood there, silent. At first, I was amazed by the detail of his costume. It looked like some real effort had gone into it. But then I realized, this boy was different from the others. He didn't trick or treat, didn't even come close. He just stood there, frozen. He seemed to be staring at me. His eyes were invisible, but something inside that mask was watching me. A strange uneasiness welled up inside me. My throat went dry. The other kids slowly left. The laughter faded. My yard emptied. But that boy was still there. He didn't move. It was as if time had stopped for him. I stood up and said, "Hey, want some candy?" He didn't answer. I took a step. He took a step back too. But not towards me, towards the window. He approached the front window of my house. He looked inside. My heart almost stopped. My hand went to my phone. A message had just arrived on the city group. I read it out of the corner of my eye. "Attention, an escaped psychiatric patient is being sought. He is known to be wearing a handmade leather costume. He was last seen downtown." The moment I read the message, the masked boy moved closer to the window. I could already hear my own breathing. My hand was shaking. I tried to lock the door, but I couldn't move. It was as if my body had frozen. I called the police. My voice was hoarse. "There's someone in my yard, like a costume, but not. Please come." 10 minutes later, a siren wailed. The moment the police car pulled into the street, the boy took a step back. Then another. And then he disappeared into the darkness. Around the corner of my yard, silently, without a trace. The police arrived at the house. They searched the yard. There were footprints. Small, irregular. But there was nothing else. "We've had a few reports tonight," someone said. "There have been other people describing the same mask." I couldn't sleep that night. I closed the curtains. I left the lights on. But that mask, those eyes, I couldn't forget. And you know what the worst part is? I still see that mask in my yard from time to time.
I'm Lily. On Halloween night, when I entered that abandoned house, lured by my girlfriend's idea of a fun scare, I sensed something was wrong. Old, cracked walls, rusty doors, broken mirrors on the floor, and half-melted candles. Everything felt too ready. As if someone had planned this night before us. Ouija game, they called it. They laughed. We lined up the candles and placed the mirrors opposite each other. I watched silently. A weight felt heavy inside me. It felt like the air was thicker, colder. While my friends made up names and called out to the spirits, I felt like something was actually listening. Then, I heard a whisper. "Abigail." It was so light. Like the wind. But clear. It was a name. A name I didn't recognize, but as if it had been carved into the walls of the house. My eyes fell on the candles. The candle in the middle went out on its own. There was no breeze. None of us had touched it. Then, the door slammed shut. We all started. The laughter stopped. Silence fell. At that moment, Mia's voice changed. Her eyes became blank. "Don't go," she said. But her voice wasn't her own. It was thick, muffled, unfamiliar. As if someone were speaking from within. "I'm here. I'm still here." We froze. A shadow appeared around the candles. It wasn't clear, but it was moving. It was spinning. It seemed to be watching us. As if the candles weren't around her, but around those candles. We ran out screaming. We forced the door open. We ran down the stairs. But just as we were leaving, something caught my eye on the wall. An old newspaper clipping. Yellowed and torn. The headline was clear. "Girl who died in the house, Abigail. Missing in 1963, body never found." We walked out of breath. No one spoke. When we returned home, everyone was silent. But I couldn't forget that night. The next morning, checking my phone, I found an audio file recorded during the night. I'd never opened it. But it was there. Runtime, 6 hours and 12 minutes. I listened to it with headphones. There was only one thing in it. Whisper. Lily. 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 Every Halloween night, I avoid candles and mirrors.
On Halloween night, my name was on the boarding school's duty roster. Nights like this were usually quiet. The students had gone home, the hallways emptied, and the school building had retreated into itself. But tonight was different. The air was colder. The walls were quieter. The old decorations stuck to the windows, the faded spiderwebs, and the plastic bats looked like they'd been left behind for years. It was as if time had stood still. It was around 11 at night. I was checking the halls with a flashlight. Everything seemed normal. But I had a strange uneasiness inside me. It was as if someone was watching me. As if the school didn't want to be alone tonight. That's when I remembered Michael. The school's old legend. Years ago, on this very night, he had disappeared from this school. He was 12 years old. After his last lesson, he hadn't returned to his room. No one had ever seen him again. Some said he had run away, others that the school had swallowed him up. But the one I heard most often was, "If you whisper his name 3 times, he'll come back." I always laughed it off. But that night, when I reached the stairwell, for some reason, it came to me. Maybe it was boredom, maybe curiosity. Maybe it was the feeling I wasn't alone. I leaned forward. I leaned against the iron railing of the stairs. I whispered, "Michael." A silence. "Michael." My heart quickened a little. "Michael." At that moment, I heard footsteps. Not from above. Not from below. From within the stairs. As if someone were walking through the walls. Then, the old school bell rang. No one had touched it. But the sound echoed. The wrenching vibration of the metal spread through the halls. I raised my flashlight. A figure appeared at the end of the hallway. A small child. Still. Not moving. But he was looking at me. His eyes were invisible. His face was dark. But his presence was very real. I took a step. He took a step too. He came closer. There were no footsteps. Only his presence. When he came to me, I couldn't breathe. It was as if the air had been sucked out. As if time had stopped. And then, he whispered. I never left. The voice was muffled. Old-like, yet childish. Something inside me broke. I stepped back. The flashlight fell from my hand. As the light swirled on the floor, the silhouette disappeared. As if it had never been there. But I knew he was there. In the morning, I checked the security footage. The cameras showed me. I was walking alone through the halls. I was standing in the stairwell. But something was missing. That boy wasn't there. There was no silhouette. But on my shoulder, there was a small handprint. Clear in the dust. His fingers were thin, round. As if someone had touched him. As if someone were still here. From that day on, every Halloween night, I hear something as I descend the stairs. Soft, subtle, childish. Laughter. Even today, I hear children's laughter as I descend the stairs.